What's up, guys? Horror Man back for another review. So today we're going to take a look at the Batman the Animated Series Mondo limited edition Scarecrow figure. So this is that limited exclusive edition that was from Mondo's website. So we'll have some different pieces that aren't on the regular edition. I'll make sure to point those out. But just taking a look at the box, you get this really cool picture of the animated Scarecrow on there. You see he's got that tall hat with the straw hair and that kind of crazy expression. You got the DC logo on the left, Mondo limited edition label, also the Mondo logo. A bit more information on the side, just shows the Scarecrow name. Also says 1/6 scale figure and just some of the credits. Over to the back, you do get that classic Batman the Animated Series logo, as well as some of the credits for the people that helped make this figure possible. Over to the bottom, you get the UPC and the 14 plus, as well as some of the other credits. And then the front does have this flap that opens here. There is a lot of plastic on the inside, so it's kind of hard to see exactly everything in there, but you kind of get the point. But you can see everything is wrapped in plastic. You also get this really cool image of the Scarecrow on the inner flap once you open the front of the box. So this is my first 1/6 scale Mondo DC figure, and I'm pretty excited for it because I'm a huge Scarecrow fan. So let's go ahead and get this box. There's also this really cool packaging insert. It's basically like the background of the inner packaging, but you can see this really cool monster version of Batman, and this is what happens when Scarecrow kind of gets induced with his own fear toxin. This is when he looks at the Batman, this is what he sees. So really cool that they put this in there. You also get a stand with the figure, which is two parts. So you get the part that will actually hold the figure itself, and then you can adjust this metal to heighten it. And then you also have just the standard Batman classic logo, like from the animated series. And then you're just going to plug these two into one another, and then you have your stand. Alright, so taking a look at the first head sculpt for Scarecrow, this is the one that's on him inside of the box. This is actually based on his second appearance, where he has the straw hair and a little bit scarier mask than the first one. So you can see he's got, again, that straw hair kind of protruding out. And then he also has the kind of crazy eyes with the eyeballs, and then just kind of black shadows kind of around him, which looks really cool. He's got that really big mouth going there with these Scarecrow teeth. Just a really much scarier appearance than his first appearance, but it does look really cool. You can see the stitching all around there. He's got that classic collar with a little cut taken out of it. Just a really classic look. Taking a look at a profile angle, you could really see how that bottom jaw really kind of protrudes out, giving him this massive underbite. But just very crucial to this character, especially this costume. I really love the stitching that you can see that goes from around the bottom of those teeth all the way down to the neck. Just really, really cool. And then you can see just a little bit more stitching if you move the hair. You can see there's some stitching right around that left eye. And then taking a look at the right side of his face, again, you can see a lot of that jaw kind of sticking out there. Again, some more stitching. It is just hidden just a little bit behind that hair. You can see a line kind of going up the jaw. But again, just really cool mask. And here's one more shot from the front. And you can see just the hat and everything. It's a huge hat, obviously, so it does kind of hide the details depending on how you tilt his head. But overall, the look is definitely there. Here's a shot from the back, and you can see the hat also. But I really like the way this straw hair looks. Not a ton of details, but I really do like the actual design and the length. Now, in total, you actually get 4 different head sculpts with this limited edition release. And I just want to be clear which ones those are, and I'll just show you real quick. So with the regular release, you're going to get just these 2 head sculpts. So you'll get the straw hair Scarecrow and the unmasked Jonathan Crane Scarecrow head. Now for the limited edition release, You'll also get the straw hair, just like nightmare vision Scarecrow, which is really cool. And then my personal favorite, you'll get the original appearance from Nothing to Fear, which is the original Scarecrow mask, which has never been made, amazingly. And you can see this one does not have the straw hair or the eyeballs or the teeth. So that's really cool they included that. So I'll go ahead and start by showing the other non-limited release head sculpt. So I'll take this off the stand, and then just taking the head sculpt off. It's not too bad, pops off pretty easy. And then you got that ball peg on there. And we'll just go ahead and pop on the Dr. Crane head sculpt. Did have to put a little bit of pressure to get that on there, but there he is with the Dr. Crane head sculpt. Alright, so here he is with that Jonathan Crane head, and man, I love this. I think they did such a great job with this head sculpt. You just can't have a Scarecrow figure without this guy. He just looks like he's right out of like a Disney movie, like a villain. But yeah, here he is just with his masked and unmasked looks. But yeah, they did a really good job. I like the expression. The eyebrows are real crazy. He's got like a flared nostril. Hair's kind of all over the place. Just exactly what you would expect this to look like. And I think they've done a really good job. And I'll just give you a couple more angles of his face. So you got the right side. I really like this left side though. This is the shot, man. This is where he pretty much thinks he's beat Batman, takes his mask off, and he's just got that sinister look. So just really great job on this. And then here's just a quick shot of the back of his head. Again, not tons of details in the hair, but it is an animated series look. I think it's got just enough detail. Now the articulation for this head sculpt is probably going to be the best because he doesn't have the mask or the hat. So you can see he's got really good range. You can look down really far. Can't look up super far just because of the way he's kind of got this like hunchback thing going on. But yeah, he can get some really good head turns, kind of like that Michael Myers type head turns. So yeah, really good articulation on this particular head sculpt. Alright, and here he is with that nightmare mask, which is really crazy looking. I love the different sharp teeth and just like exaggerated expressions. So definitely much different looking from that regular head sculpt that comes with it. Now I will say it is a little big, so it might exaggerate the proportions a little bit. And because of like how big it is, like in terms of the size of his head, he doesn't really have a lot of articulation with this head sculpt. So this is definitely the least articulation you're going to get. And you really only get like a twist and maybe some like rotation here. You can kind of move it. But once you turn it too far, the head kind of pops off. Here's an angle from that left side. And again, you can just see how sinister and crazy he looks here. Just so cool. And here's a quick shot from the right side. Again, you know, the hat, the fedora kind of tips down that right side a little bit, so it does tend to cover the face just a tiny bit. Here he is from the back, just kind of shows length of the hair. Again, not as much detail, but, you know, animated series, so it's good enough, and I do like the fedora on this one. Now, I do want to show this real quick. This head sculpt is far bigger than this one, so again, like, it's not just that. The proportion thing, it's going to be that whole idea of how the head attaches to the body. Because this is so big and has kind of overbuilt, it's not going to have that articulation. So that's what I was kind of saying about the hindered articulation with this Nightmare head sculpt specifically. Alright, so for the last head sculpt is that first appearance Scarecrow mask, and this is based on the Nothing to Fear episode. And this is my personal favorite. I mean, I'm just so happy to finally have this head sculpt in hand. They've never sculpted this in any form, as far as I know. Nothing. No statue, no figure, no nothing. It's always been that straw hair version. And if you're, you know, a longtime fan of this series, you know this is not the first appearance, so it's just really cool to finally have that original mask. And yeah, it's maybe not quite as scary as, you know, like the straw hat one, But, you know, it depends on your personal preference. But for me, this is what the Scarecrow would probably look like. He's got that classic sack mask with those glowing eyes. No teeth or anything. It's just like a regular sack mask with a cut for the mouth. And you can see some like different line work on there. Some different lines around his brows and underneath his eyes. So just really cool looking. Taking a look from the side, you do get that classic fedora kind of popped up on his left side there. I really love the different stitching going across, just like the regular straw hair one. You know, you definitely want to carry over the stitching, which looks really cool. Looking at him from that right side, again, you see that just kind of blank mouth. It's just like all black, no teeth. You get that really cool stitching on the right side by the mouth. Again, those glowing eyes look really cool. Hat's kind of tipped down a little bit on that right side, so you can't see quite as much of his face, just enough. Here's a quick shot of the back of him with the fedora fully shown, and you can see there is a really cool stitch line on the back of his head. And here's one more shot from the front, and it has the full fedora shown here. So really cool. You can see the collar piece, of course, as well, with that little cut out of it. It just matches up really well with no matter what head sculpt you have on there. I do wish this fedora in particular for this head sculpt was removable. He does take the hat off in the end of the original appearance. But I thought that would have been really cool for this one specifically, since he doesn't have the straw hair. It seems like it would have been pretty easy to do. And it would have added kind of a little extra bit, since it is part of the limited edition release. But overall, I really love all the different head sculpts. I think they'll all look really good. And then, you know, depending on what version you like the best, I think you have plenty of options with this Scarecrow. Taking a look at the rest of the details in the Scarecrow body here. Kind of already taking a look at that collar piece, but again, it's got that little cut in it. Now, it does have a bit of a shine right here. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be cell shading or what, but it does come off as a little shiny, unfortunately, just in that one spot, which is not good for cameras. My one gripe is that the yellow, like the straw hair, is leaving paint marks, unfortunately, and you can kind of see it in, I don't know if you could see that or not in the collar, but unfortunately it does leave a little bit of paint rub on there. I'm having a hard time getting that off, so just be leery of that. For the most part, the costume is pretty plain, but they've managed to really break it up by having a lot of different sculpting, so you can see all the almost dynamic wrinkles in the sculpt, which looks really good. And from different angles, you could really see just how much it does to the sculpt. It really kind of gives him that lanky, kind of awkward posture that we're used to seeing with Scarecrow. So it looks really good. You do get that little rope kind of belt at the bottom. Very basic, just matches the mask and the collar piece really well. You do get some little cuts and tatters in the bottom of the shirt. You also see some different stitching along the shoulder, on the left shoulder. And you can see the shoulders the way they are. It kind of does hinder the articulation, but it does look really cool. The sleeves around the elbows are a little bit longer, baggier. You do get some different ties around the wrist. Looks really cool. A more tatter sleeves. A little bit of a dark sleeve to give it more of a dirty look. I really do love the overall look of how it's like very wide at the top and then narrow toward the waist. Just really cool. The one thing that truly stands out to me always with the Scarecrow figure is the hands. And these hands look really cool. And taking a look at those hands, you can see how sharp the fingers are. Just very creepy. Definitely adds to the creepiness of this character. And that's actually where he kind of like shoots the toxin, like the fear toxin out of. It's right from his fingertips. So you can see it's really well concealed in those like flesh tone, claw-like fingertips. So just really cool. I think they did a good job with this. And here's a quick look at the back of the Scarecrow. Not a whole lot of detail. You can kind of see where the back of that stitching in the shirt shows. And then again, though, a lot of sculpting in the shirt to kind of break up the idea of just a smooth shirt. So there is a lot more sculpting going on there. And again, you can see the rope belt and a little bit of a cut in the bottom of the shirt on the back. Not a whole lot going on down at the legs. Again, you get that cool stitching showing there. A little bit of stitching in the back. Not a whole lot. Cool wrinkles again. I do love the feet. It says classic, like slippers or almost like moccasins. You do get some screws in the bottom of the feet and the Mondo logo and the name. So that's about it for the details. So taking a look at the articulation, we've already looked at the articulation for like the unmasked head, which again is definitely going to have the best articulation. And then of course we looked at it with the nightmare head, which has the worst articulation. And of course the one with the straw hair will be somewhere in between, but I did want to show it with this mask because I think this will be closer to like the unmasked head. So yeah, you get really good down. Up's actually not too bad. It's slightly better since he doesn't have any hair. He could turn his head all the way around like it's a clock. I mean, he's got some pretty crazy articulation. But yeah, really great articulation with this particular head sculpt. The arms, because of the sleeves, can only go up so high. So that's pretty much as high as it's going to go. You can go down pretty far. Not quite as good as I would want. Not that classic like double hinge, but it's pretty good. You can angle them out this way here. So you can get some pretty good poses with him with that upper torso. You can just get a standard waist swivel. In terms of the legs, again, you just get that kind of single joint. Get a little bit of a rock, not much. Just barely a rock on there. You can get a decent kick and a bit of a split, not much. Oh, leg will pop off if you go too far up. Snaps right back in. Yeah, not too much of a kick on this guy. So articulation is pretty good for what it is. Again, you can get those kind of signature poses for the Scarecrow, but nothing super impressive like a Spider-Man or anything like that. So you do get some interchangeable hands with the Scarecrow here. As you can see, I have him just with the regular hands. He's kind of like in that up to no good pose. So those would be like your gesture hands. You also have these gripping hands, which look pretty cool. Pretty much the same hand, but you get left and right. And then you have a holding hand, which looks a little bit different. So gripping something like rounded, which is probably going to be for one of his accessories that I'll show in a minute here. And then you also get one more kind of like gesture hand, or like a loose gripping hand, and I think that looks pretty good. But then you also get these fear toxin hands, which look awesome. And these have like a translucent fear toxin going through here, so you get this like red, clear, it almost looks like liquid, but it's supposed to be like that mist. So I'll show you what they look like right now. So interchanging a hand is pretty easy, and it does have like these very long pegs on them. So just pull this hand right out, and you can see it's pretty easy to move that. And you can see the range of articulation on here. And then I'll just put in one of those fear toxin hands, and it just snaps in just like that. Alright, and here he is with those fear toxin hands, and you could definitely see what they're going for with this. I think for the most part it looks pretty good, especially if you get the right angle, like from the front especially. It definitely looks like more of a cloud than liquid. But I do think these are really cool. Scarecrow does come with some really cool accessories, and I'll start with a few here. So you do get two different crows. One of them is more in flight, and the other one has his wings kind of down. So really it's just the difference between the wings. You also get this really cool scythe or sickle, and you can see some different cell shading in here and pretty radical cut in the blade and a little bit of a chunk taken out right there. But really cool piece. It's almost as tall as him, really. It's a pretty tall weapon, and you can get him kind of holding it in whatever way you want. You can see I have the crow kind of landing on the scythe, but you could probably get in position on the arm of Scarecrow or maybe on his hat, but they are really cool. You also get this gold like pocket watch, which is really cool, and he does use this in his third appearance where he's basically like trying to sabotage Gotham's water system. The one thing about this that's a little bit different is the bottom doll actually had like a Grim Reaper on it, and this one you can't really see that. And here he is with a vial of the toxin itself, which is also one of his weapons. And this one particular hand that had that more rounded grip, it's definitely meant for this particular piece. You can actually see how the hands at the bottom are gripped just a little bit tighter, holding that in. So it's really cool that he comes with that. Alright, and the final accessory is a pretty funny one, and this is the only other piece that's an exclusive to this particular limited edition release. And it's basically this Joker rat, which is hilarious. And you can see it's just the Joker like from the animated series, but he's basically a rat. And this is from the third episode, again with Scarecrow kind of sabotaging Gotham's water supply, and Batman is already under some kind of hallucinogen or whatever, and he sees a rat, and the rat kind of turns into the Joker, which is really cool. So this is basically what you're getting here, and he does have like some really good paint on here. You can see the ears are painted, the gloves are painted, the tail is painted. So it does look pretty cool. And just taking a closer look at this Joker rat here, he is a bit of a figure on his own. He actually does have some articulation, which is really cool. So you can get some up and down, side to side. You can rotate pretty good. The arms also have articulation on them, which is pretty cool. Nothing in the elbows, but he can go, up and down. So you can get some poses here. You do get some really nice details with like the fur, and like the tail is painted really well. The tail doesn't move, the legs don't move, but again, it is a pretty cool kind of a gimmicky piece to add to it, but I think it's really cool. And if you did get this limited release, again, this is an exclusive accessory. For the first comparison, here he is with the Hot Toys Batman Returns Batman, and I do think these look really cool next to each other. I like the scale, even though one is animated, one is live action, but they do fit in really nice. Here he is with the animated series figures made by DC Collectibles, and also McFarlane is reproducing these, but you can see these are obviously not in scale. Here he is with a Mattel Collect and Connect King Shark, and you can see even that shark is a lot smaller. Here he is with the Mezco Cinema Fear 12-inch scale Jason Voorhees, and this is based on the Friday the 13th and New Blood, and this is an old figure. This was actually one of my brother's figures. My brother recently passed away, but this is really cool to see these next to each other, because if you are a horror collector, if you just like different 12-inch scale figures, he still scales really well with them. Here he is with a much older Scarecrow. I believe this was the DC Superpowers version, but this one had a very similar mask to that animated series, and for a while, this was pretty much the closest there was to that classic look. For the next comparison, here he is with a couple of Dark Knight Trilogy figures. So this is the Mafex Scarecrow, and that's based on basically the Batman Begins or even the Dark Knight. And you can see that mask is definitely similar to this animated series version. And then you also have the Dark Knight Trilogy version made by Mattel, and that one has that straight jacket, which is basically from the end of Batman Begins. So again, these aren't in scale together, but it's cool to see them next to each other and some of the similarities. Here he is with the Hot Toys Batman Begins Scarecrow, and you can see he has that straight jacket. But yeah, definitely a similar mask, which is really cool, seeing this next to the animated series version. He's a little bit taller, but with the fedora, these look pretty cool next to each other on a shelf. Alright, then for the final comparison, this one's just for fun. I thought it'd be cool if you took those 6-inch scale, like DCC and McFarlane figures, and actually put that, like, Scarecrow 1/6 scale figure with them. It kind of like adds to that nightmare. Alright, so that's my review of the Mondo limited edition release Scarecrow. And for the most part, I'm really happy with this guy. The accessories are really cool. The head sculpts is really what sold me on this figure, especially this particular head sculpt. I mean, I can't say that enough. I'm just a huge fan of this look. I know it's not for everybody, but I am excited that they actually included that. So yeah, for the most part, in terms of the accessories, the interchangeable parts, and just the overall look of the figure, I'm really happy. When it comes down to it, really, that is my favorite part about this figure, is that you can create both versions of him. While you can't create the New Adventures version, you can definitely create the whole look of what he looked like in the animated series with that additional head sculpt and the Nightmare head sculpt, and of course even that goofy old Dr. Crane head sculpt. So it really does include everything you need to create the perfect animated series figure. The only real gripe I have with this figure is that certain heads don't really stay on, and when I say certain ones, I really mean this Nightmare head sculpt. While it is really cool, that whole idea of how it attaches is really overbuilt. It's very heavy. It's not quite in scale with the body, and overall it just doesn't stay on the body real well. If you go to turn the head, it will fall off. So that's a little disappointing. Another disappointment is one of my hands on the right side snapped, which really sucks. All I did was kind of like move it a certain way, didn't really look and see what I was doing, and I snapped that. So hopefully Mondo will be able to replace that one for me. I do think they could have got the Grim Reaper on this little part of the stopwatch, or like the gold watch. That was kind of a crucial part in that episode, so that was kind of dumb that they couldn't paint that. I mean, it is big enough. I think they could have done better. A little gripe, nothing much, but again, the QC issue on the hands definitely sucks. So yeah, in terms of like the look and the accessories and everything, I'm definitely happy. The quality, I think, could be a step up from what it is right now. Overall, though, I'm definitely satisfied with it. I love the look. The accessories are awesome. The price, to me, is just a little high, especially when you can get a quarter scale NECA for cheaper, and to be honest, they're definitely better quality. But this is a license that you don't see many people do, and they are making things like X-Men and the Spider-Man animated series, so I don't know. I think I'm going to possibly get a few more of these, especially within the X-Men, like the Wolverine. I do wish I would have got a couple more of these animated series ones before, such as the Phantasm or Batman. If I had known they were making this Scarecrow, I definitely would have done that. So, but overall, I think it's really cool. I think if you like the animated series and you really want a cool Scarecrow, I would definitely recommend this. So thanks for watching my review. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you have a comment or question, go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, see ya.